Hey everyone, I'm Shyaam from VIT and this is the Signals and Systems digital assignment. The objective of this project is to extract two samples from each gender and extrapolate information from it. And I will be using MATLAB to perform this. This is the code that will perform the necessary tasks. Now what we're going to do here is we record a short audio sample from the user and obtain the raw data corresponding to its amplitudes. This data is in the time domain. So we apply the fast Fourier transform to get a graph in the frequency domain. The reason for this is the amplitudes in the time domain are not very informative. They only denote the loudness of the audio. So to better understand the audio signal, it's necessary to analyze the data in the frequency domain. Now let's look at the FFT algorithm. This calculates the discrete Fourier transform of a given sequence. It basically decomposes the signal into its constituent frequencies and gives the magnitude of each frequency present in the signal. Now in our case, we have a sequence of amplitudes that were sampled from a continuous audio signal. The FFT algorithm then converts this time domain discrete signal into frequency domain. And then we finally plot the graph which helps us analyze the intricacies present in the human voice. Now I'll be explaining the MATLAB code that we're going to use. First of all, the audio recorder function records the sample. We can specify the sampling frequency, the number of bits, and the number of channels. Here we specified it as 2 because the audio will be saved as stereo format. Then the record blocking function. This function determines the duration of the clip. Here we specified it as 5 seconds. And then the get audio data function gets the raw data from the audio clip. Now after we finish recording and get the data, we use the FFT function to get the fast Fourier transform, and then we plot the graph. Now let's run the code and obtain a sample for the male voice. Hey, I'm Shyam and I think that Fourier transforms are pretty cool. And now let's obtain a sample for the female voice.
Hi, I'm Malti, and I think Fourier transforms are pretty cool.
Now let's look at the generated plots and try to see what we can infer from it. Now this is the male voice plot in the frequency domain, and this is the female voice plot. From these two graphs, we can notice that even this small signal of 5 seconds is composed of thousands of different frequencies. And as we can see, the stronger frequencies range from 0 to 1 kHz. That's because a typical human voice dominates in this range. All the other frequencies are probably due to the background noise. And since the only graph of importance is the frequency domain, the duration of the sample is irrelevant. And that is why our samples were 5 seconds each. Now let's take a look at the pitch. Pitch is the highest frequency of the certain signal. Now upon zooming these two graphs, we can see that the male pitch is 134 Hz and the female pitch is 259 Hz. Now this is an approximate rough value taken from one sample from each gender. This may vary, but it generally is around the same ballpark. From this we can see that the female pitch is slightly higher than the male pitch. We can also conclude a lot more from this observed data. We know that signal is a physical quantity that varies with respect to its independent variable, like time, space, etc. Signal values can be represented in zeros and ones. A person's voice is a speech signal which contains information regarding the particular speaker. By performing digital signal processing, we can determine the gender of the sample. With this project, we can only roughly estimate the differences between the two genders, but accurate gender, ethnicity, and age can be determined if we have a database with a lot of empirical data. And by performing a spectrogram, even more accuracy can be attained. And if we have good quality equipment, the samples can be made noiseless, which also increases the preciseness of our recognition. Thus, we successfully understood what an audio signal entails and learned about digital signal processing. That's about it. See ya.